Okay, go ahead. Give us some of our review in one word of Doctor Strange. Anderson.
Awesome.
Okay. I was gonna say it's like magic. Abracadabra, motherfucker. No. So this is the non-spoiler review of Doctor Strange. Um, I uploaded earlier this evening, this tonight, earlier this night, a spoiler review of Doctor Strange. So if you haven't seen it yet, please don't watch that review until you have. It's not too long. It's actually relatively short. Um, so with with that being said, what are your thoughts about the movie? No spoilers,
Now, the
Kanoshi.
first thing I wanted to say is it was one of the few movies where, I still have I have that suspension of disbelief. I mean, I had that, but at the same time, I was thinking about, man, all the crap that the CGI people had to do to program this stuff and make it look right, not super awkward. Just I just thought the special effects were really cool in that movie. It's like some of the best magic sequences I've seen in a movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it real. What like let me put it this way. I've seen this movie twice already. Thursday night I saw it like without the 3D or in IMAX because I was being cheap that night. And yesterday, Friday, I saw it. For my review, I saw it. In IMAX 3D. So it was like an $18 fucking ticket. And, well, actually, it wasn't. I paid $6 because I get all types of cool discounts and shit. But plus popcorn. And I'm gonna tell you right now. Last night I saw it with a friend of mine who is heavy into marijuana and other types of drug use. And I'm gonna tell you right now. If you know someone, if you don't do drugs, but you want to know how it feels to be on drugs, watch. There are some sequences in this film you'll swear someone gave you some shrooms before you went to see this shit. Like, what the
Crazy.
fuck?
Uh, that movie was just a crazy, wild ride, especially in 3D.
Oh yeah,
Man, that's
it's
incredible.
like, man, someone slipped me some mushrooms before I came in here, and this is some fucked up shit right here.
Yeah, yeah. That like no, I don't think I've ever seen when it comes to movies about magic, like special effects, like all the crazy stuff they were doing, and all the lighting effects, and being able to traverse various different worlds. I mean, they're Marvel is not ashamed to admit that they're making comic book movies. They are not ashamed to admit that. And
Unlike
each
a
movie that
certain
comes
group
along,
that shall not be named, let's say that their name is CD, and CD, for some reason, it's just a shame to admit that they're making comic book movies. No, man, these are gritty.
yeah,
It's realistic.
Well, I don't know about CD, but Warner Brothers has been acting up.
I'm trying not to
no,
say their name, man. Call them
I know.
call them the Parker brothers. The
I know.
Parker brothers.
I know Guardians of the Galaxy probably for many people it's that moment. It's like, oh shit, they're not afraid to make comic book movies. Well, uh, Doctor Strange was that moment. It's like, man, we're there. Marvel's like, we're making comic book movies, and damn it, we're proud of it.
Well, I mean, like, here's the irony, right? Here's the irony about. I mean, you're gonna have to draw the comparison because, I mean, they're the only two people really making comic book movies. I know some people say, "What about Fox?" After the craptastic Apocalypse and the Fantastic Four stick and what other piece of shit came out from Fox? Oh no, Deadpool was good, but the other things have just been shitty all year from Fox. Their superhero movies over the last few years have been pretty damn terrible in my opinion. Um, you basically got the two juggernauts in the game are Marvel and DC, and Marvel's not really ashamed to admit, yeah, this is a comic book movie. But here's the irony. right? DC, under the Snyderverse, they're like, oh, these are gritty, realistic films. They're dark. One of the quintessential symbols of hope in the Marvel Universe, Captain America, his solo films are some of the darkest fucking films in the franchise.
What films were these?
The Captain America films are the darkest films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, think about it. The first film, he's fighting against basically Nazis, right?
Yeah.
The second
I didn't
film,
see the first one.
oh, well, in the first one, he's fighting against Nazis. He's fighting against the Marvel Universe's version of Nazis. Matter of fact, one of the earliest Captain America comics has Captain America just knocking the fuck out of Adolf Hitler, which is actually pretty damn cool. And you know, in the second film, did you see Winter Soldier?
Yeah, I saw Winter Soldier.
Okay, in Winter Soldier, he's dealing with having to reconcile his ideals and what he stands for with what reality is, right? And he holds on to his ideals. He's like, look, if S.H.I.E.L.D. has been taken over by Hydra and they're violating people's rights, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s going to have to be dismantled. He goes with it. That's how badass Captain America is. The ideals that he stands for, which are the ideals of what people idealize, their idealized realizations of what people want America to be, he feels like in order for us to live with these ideals, certain things cannot be allowed to stand. But that's a horrible thing when you find out everything you've devoted yourself to has been perverted into this authoritarian regime that almost took over the United States. That's dark.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah,
And then we have the third film, which, I mean, let's keep it real. Captain America: Civil War. That's dark as fuck. You know. I mean, like, but you know, if you ask Zack Snyder, their movies aren't dark. Really? I mean, seriously, like, but I mean, this all boils down to basically having a really good writers and people who understand the material. But enough about that. Anything that you want to say about the film without going too much into detail about Doctor Strange that, like, you noticed you're looking forward to? Anything that was like, wow, that really stood out? Not too spoilery.
No, okay. Hopefully this won't be too spoilery, but the final sequence was a surprise to me. I'm not going to go into any detail what happens, but it was a surprise to me. I thought one thing was going to happen, and then something else completely different happened. But
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well,
yeah, at the same time, there was a sequence in which foreshadowed that moment after watching the movie and thinking about it. But yeah,
well,
I was like, you see that?
See, you come across as someone who's not like hugely familiar with Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Like he's not, like, you're not a fan. I'm a huge fan of Doctor Strange. Like, I have 96 trades and like 4 omnibuses. So I'm like a huge Doctor Strange fan. So the thing you have to realize about Doctor Strange is that he's basically like he's a magic user. And like a magic user in other media, like, he doesn't necessarily go in and blow up the bad guys. Like, sometimes he has to outthink them, or he has to trick them, or he has to outwit them. Like he doesn't always just go in there and say bolts of Balthak, or by the eye of Agamotto, which I'm glad they mentioned the eye of Agamotto.
It's kind of like Batman with magic powers. If Batman had magic. Not quite enough.
Not. I mean, like, okay, like, if you ever read any novels that aren't Harry Potter with magic in them, a lot of times, like, really good magic users don't necessarily always use their magic in the way they use their magic in creative ways in order to overcome a foe that's superior to themselves with their intellect, which is basically that's a very magic user thing, because basically magic users want to save their magic for when shit's really about to get real, you know?
Yeah, because That's a side note, but that's one of the things that Harry Potter that really bothers me is that magic essentially is infinite. Like there's not really a side effect for using magic. Let's say like in Naruto, where if you use too much chakra, you could basically kill yourself if you try to expand the amount of a lot of chakra that you know that you're
Yeah,
able to use.
yeah. Or as
So
Naruto calls it, chakra. You have to learn to use chakra. What? It's not called that. Yes, it is. It's chakra. No, I'm joking. But yeah, there's a price to be paid. In a lot of media that has magic in it, there's a price to be paid for using too much magic. I've read fantasy stories where like the more you use magic, the more the more magical you become. So like a magic user who's an elementalist, they channel the elements. Let's say their prime element is fire. Eventually they become fire like themselves. But their magic in fire becomes more adept, more powerful, but there's a chance that if they use it too much, they'll become basically an elemental and they can never go back to being a human being, and it's like they lose themselves. And I mean, like I like stories and books that have magic users where magic is not this cure-all panacea. Like there's a price to be paid. It's a power and it's fucking awesome, but it's not like, oh, I just some shit happened, you know. And I also don't like lame ass magic users. You know, if you have a wand, I kind of immediately like get the fuck out.
yeah, I don't like the whole having to use a wand or being bound by a wand. That's another thing I guess that bothers me about the Harry Potter series is it's like, well, if you don't have a wand, you're SOL. That's it. You're screwed. It's like, yeah.
It's like, well, what did the first magic users use who didn't have wands? Who apparently like here's the thing. Here's how you know a lot of the stuff in Harry Potter is kind of bullshit. You're like, okay, the first magic users didn't have wands, and arguably they were some of the most powerful magic users in history. So if they were so fucking powerful they didn't have wands, why the fuck do you pansies need them? That makes no sense. Oh well, that's a plot hole. Wingardium Leviosa, Patronus. Whatever. I'm sorry. I like. Here's the thing. Here's my beef with Harry Potter. It's not that Harry Potter isn't a fun read. I read the entire series. It's that before, like Harry Potter made fantasy mainstream, but I had been reading fantasy that was deeper and of a higher level than Harry Potter, because Harry Potter was basically like juvenile stuff. I mean, it grew up with its audience. It started out as like basically like middle schoolers, and then it grew up with its audience, which is actually kind of cool. But it was like I remember all these Harry Potter pretenders came out, and it was terrible. It was a dark time for fantasy. And fantasy has a hard road to hoe because you very rarely find good fantasy these days. There's certain authors you can be like, okay, this person's going to be cool, but a lot of times you get a lot of Harry Potter pretenders.
Yeah, and I grew up with the series. I enjoyed the series, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the series doesn't have problems because it does.
Oh yeah.
Like time travel, but then again, you're going to have problems with time travel. But again,
Yeah.
the problem with the whole time travel in the third book was it was just kind of too big to ignore. But anyway,
You know what I would like to see from Harry Potter? Like, here's what Rowling needs to do. She needs to make a series, like, she needs to make, like, a detective series about a wizard teaming up, or maybe a female wizard, teaming up with a non-magic user who's aware of magic, but he or she can't use it. And they go on adventures, and, like, the wizard finds out there's some shit that I can't deal with that this non-magic user is really good at. And then the non-magic user appreciates the magic user. You know, this person can deal with shit that I can't deal with. It would be an awesome series. It'd be buddy cop procedural, except with
that'd
magic.
be cool. Yeah, that would be a cool idea.
Wait, hasn't that been done before? I think.
Everything's been done before.
Everything's been done before, but I think that J.K. Rowling could pull it off because she has the name recognition. except for that awesome The Bishop's Murderer or The Bishop's Replacement that came out and it didn't do that well. Like she's a victim of her own success because basically if it's not Harry Potter or Harry Potter related, it can't get traction.
She's trapped in Hogwarts. That's just
You know?
reality. She's trapped in Hogwarts.
And I'm pretty sure at this point she's like, I'm fucking tired of Hogwarts. I'm telling you, she needs to pull a Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and just nuke Hogwarts. Like someone fucked up and the governments of the world just nuke the shit out of Hogwarts. That would be hilarious to me. Just like they're like, oh magic, oh shit. Just everyone dies. That would be hilarious. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel sorry for Harry Potter, but by the end of that series, there were certain characters that I gave a shit about, and other characters were like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I also don't like how Harry and Hermione didn't wind up together because that was, come on, man, that would have been the perfect couple. Come on.
That would have made that would have made too much sense, man. That would have made too much sense.
Because think about it.
It can't make too much sense.
The only person who called Harry on his shit and was not impressed with his bullshit was Hermione, and she kept him level. Yeah. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that was they should have been together.
Yep. Yeah.
And have you seen Emma Watson when she grew up? I mean, yeah. I would have shit. But I digress. I guess now that we've digressed, we went from Doctor Strange to magic, which is tangentially related. So our final thoughts on Doctor Strange before we move on to the second portion of this podcast, which is the bullshit in the industry. So final thoughts. Yeah, should you see it? Should you not see it? And
you should definitely see it. Yeah, you should definitely see it. I thought the character development was, definitely. That's one of the things that draws me into stories. Good character development. Like if you make a story with like stick figures, like and it has very good character development. That's the one thing that draws me into the story. And I thought the character development was pretty good. It was very good, and the action sequences were just really cool too, especially when they were fighting in the hospital. He was fighting one of the bad guys as a ghost. I thought that was really cool.
That was pretty cool. Here's what I'll say. Anderson, give your yay, nay, or
I wouldn't know. I'm still trying to see it myself.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet. Okay. Well, that's a good thing we didn't spoil it for you. So definitely, here's my thing. Definitely go see it. It's fucking awesome. Doctor Strange was really, really good. Oh, we're joined by Super Mario Pokemon.
Hi. Good.
That's good. That's good. So, have you seen Doctor Strange?
Oh, I haven't seen Doctor Strange.
Oh, so we have two people here who've seen it, two people who haven't. Well, if you could hold on until we get to the end. So, yeah, basically, yeah, you have to. It's pretty good. Totally worth watching. And if there are any caveats to it, I would say, this is just my own personal opinion. I would say that Stephen Strange is a more sympathetic character than Tony Stark. A lot of people have made the comparison to him and Tony Stark. I think he's more sympathetic than Tony Stark, but that's just my own personal opinion. I will discuss more later on, maybe on another podcast in the future. So I guess it's time to move on to the second part. Before we do, Super Mario Pokemon Nerd is here. Introduce yourself.
So, anyways, yeah. So I came in to this podcast, but I wasn't really sure what the topic was about. I just assumed there was something about video games.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about
the first half was about Doctor Strange. The second half, we're talking about just video game news that came out this week. We're not going to go too in depth because not a lot really happened this week in the video game gamosphere, if you will. But a few things happened.
Cool.
So I guess the first one we'll talk about is.
Before you do, I'll just say this. Even though I've yet to see Doctor Strange, the fact that you say that he's actually sympathetic without being Tony Stark is enough to pique my interest. Because I need a main character who I don't want, slapped or to suffer because of his own stupid decisions.
Well, yeah, I was about to get into that, and since you brought it up, I mean, like here, both of these characters suffer because of have a lot of hubris about them. But where Tony Stark basically brings everything upon himself, like Stephen Strange is a doctor. Like he originally became a doctor because he wanted to help people, and over time, like he wanted to help people, and he also wanted to gain recognition. And over time, his need for recognition overcame his primary reason of helping people. But even though he was arrogant, he was still helping people. Whereas Tony Stark just fucking made weapons, and there's nothing really useful about just making weapons, But we won't go further in that. I guess it's time to get to some of these news points. So Call of Duty Infinite Warfare is coming out, or has came out. Either one, I don't know. I don't have the game, so I don't really care.
Well, the thing about this game is that apparently it has microtransactions embedded in it. Like if you want to upgrade a weapon, you're gonna have to spend hours upon hours and hours upgrading it, or you can spend your whole hard-earned money to get it upgraded right away. They want to turn these games into services.
Those poor frat boys got to choose between microtransactions in this game or their beer.
Yep.
That's not good.
Yeah, so they want to turn these games into services, and that goes along with another story that I think you heard about with Ubisoft. But is there anything else you guys want to talk about Infinite Warfare before?
I mean, if you want to bring it up, I mean, I personally was not really looking forward to Infinite Warfare, but then again, I haven't really cared about, like, the only Call of Duty that I played was the last one that had the zombie mode that had like Jeff Goldblum in it, because I'm a Jeff Goldblum fanboy. So I played the online at my friend's house. I didn't buy the game. I don't know, man. You have to have grown up in the 80s and seen The Fly. The Fly.
Yeah, I never knew about him.
It's a shame, man. You're missing out. Although you might not have want to see that. Some other news. Diablo 3. They remade a level from the original Diablo in Diablo 3. I guess that's something important. I don't.
Why not just remake Diablo altogether and just call it a day?
Blizzard.
Level.
Blizzard hasn't done anything that people have actually wanted in about 10 years. Like, I want a new Lost Vikings, but that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, all we get is a $60 online shooter that has microtransactions. They're optional, but the fact that they're still there is just.
I mean, listen. Look, it's Activision. They will find a way to make money. The NES Classic Edition came out. I don't have one because I have my original NES and I have all these games. So what was the point?
Yeah. I might get that because retro gaming is expensive. It's expensive. So those people who are interested in retro gaming and wanted something along the lines as a physical platform to play those games on rather than emulation. I mean, it's still emulation, but at least you're giving at least Nintendo is getting something out of it.
Well, I mean, here's something I want to talk about. A lot of people have talked about the price. If you have anything to say, Mario, you can just chime in anytime you want to. But a lot of people have said that the price was too high, or why didn't Nintendo, include the ability to download games to it? I was like, well, it's $60 plus tax. Actually, it's $59.99 plus tax. If they had included the technology for it to have Wi-Fi capability and like a small hard drive or flash card capacity, that would have upped the price from like $50 by another $20-$30, and then they would have had to worry about someone hacking the system. So I mean, it just right. It's a micro console. You get some classic Nintendo titles. I mean, heck. I mean, if you want more advice, you can always get a Wii Mini and get those same games for cheap, or you can get a Wii U for $150 refurb, and then you can download all the stuff you want to, or you can be really cheap and emulate it. Although
that's illegal.
That is illegal. It is illegal to emulate. However, if you own the original software and you have ripping devices, you can rip it yourself. If that's what you want to do. I mean, I personally, let me put it this way. I'm a retro gamer. I have, like I said, I have all of these games in physical copies. I also have backed them up digitally. So,
Cool.
I mean, so I have no reason to own it. But if you want to dip your toe into the retro gaming market without having to spend, hundreds of dollars getting all this stuff yourself, $60 is a cheap price. And plus, the emulation of it rendering from the micro console to your TV or whatever monitor you have it hooked up to, it really does look like Nintendo how we remember it looking in our heads.
Yeah. I think it's a nice little device to get people who were interested in the retro gaming a nice start. Versus.
It's like, hey, here's $60 so you haven't spent $600.
I hope they
I'm
come
like,
out with
that's
more.
cool.
I hope they come out with more versions of this, like a SNES one and N64 version, than a couple of years or something.
Yeah, I would like that too. Let's see what else. Miitopia. I know this is Japanese, but hopefully they'll bring it over eventually. Miitopia was shown. It's basically an RPG except with Miis, and you can use Amiibo to get different outfits and stuff. Looked pretty cool. That's it. You guys' thoughts?
I'm interested.
I don't know. I've never been a fan of Mii's, actually. I know they're here to stay, but I'm just, part of me, just never been a fan of Mii's. So.
That's terrible, man. Don't you know the fun you can have with Mii's? Like create a Samuel Jackson Mii from Pulp Fiction. I have like 3 Samuel L. Jackson Mii's in my Wii U and on my 3DS. I've got one that looks like Jewel from Pulp Fiction. I've got one that looks like Nick Fury, and I've got one that looks like Gator from Jungle Fever.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I got a lot of Sam Jackson on my Wii U. And the only thing that stinks is that you can't adjust. You can't, I think in the future they'll give you the ability to give your Mii's personalities, kind of like you can do in Miitomo, yeah. Except you can make them salty, because if it's Sam Jackson, come on, man, he's the sultan of cursing people out for all types of awesome reasons. We got a little bit of interesting news here from Sony. Sometimes you just don't get all the way there at the first go. He was responding to No Man's Sky controversy, which leads to my connective thing. Which, does anyone want to believe that little thing, that little blurb was actually the site? Oh, okay, it was actually the site of him saying, "Oh, that was a mistake." Or do you actually think that they feel that was actually No Man's Sky releasing as it was and them hyping it up through Sony Was that actually? Do you think that was detrimental to No Man's Sky or what?
I think so. I think everybody. I think Sony and Hello Games are trying to play the blame game with each other because none of them want to none of them want to own the entire debacle that was No Man's Sky. It was Sony had their hand in it. They backed the game. They wanted to sell it like a AAA game, which it wasn't meant to. I guess it wasn't designed to be a AAA game. It sold it for $60. And if you look at those early trailers and look how the game looks, it looks nowhere near to now what it looked back then. Yeah.
Man, No More Heroes 2 getting remastered for the PS4 for $20. And if I already didn't have that game, I definitely wouldn't buy a PS4 for it.
Nobody's gonna buy it. I don't know.
But that's a really good game, though. Just as a side, it's a really good game.
Why aren't they remastering it for the Wii U? They should remaster it.
Well, there was a No Man's, probably because Sony still has like the prog rights on it, so like it's cheaper for the developer, whoever holds the rights to that. That was a THQ property, I believe, so it's cheaper for Nordic to just like translate that over, or whoever held the rights to it, than to try and put it on new hardware, which sucks because No More Hero, Destroy All Humans is actually a really good game. Good.
Yeah, I heard the things about that game, that series.
Yeah. I have like all the games in that series. I have the first game for the PS2. I have the second game for the PS2. I have Big Willie Unleashed for the Wii, and I have Path of the Furon for the PS3. I'm a huge. To tell you the truth, the best one in the series is Destroy All Humans. It's the second one, because it's a very well made game. It's like I said, it's like GTA except you're an alien, so that's cool. Aliens are cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wanted to bring up the whole Ubisoft thing, how they want to get rid of single player games and they want to make games a service.
Wow.
They make more money off of multiplayer games now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's Ubisoft. Ubisoft is trying to protect their rears. They're trying to prevent themselves from getting in trouble and being in a bad situation. And I can understand it. I can dig it, as they say.
Oh yeah, the Assassin's Creed movie comes out next month. Anybody just I almost forgot.
A new Assassin's Creed?
No, the Assassin's Creed movie, the live action movie that they're making.
Yeah,
I would be skeptical of that. They even had pre-order bonuses for the movie, which was retarded. But
that's stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like what? I mean, like. Video game movies are always terrible.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the best video game movie. Video game movies that are by coincidence connected to a video game. Like The Last Starfighter is very reminiscent of a video game, but it's not a video game. It's about video games. The main character becomes a starfighter because he gets the high score in the game. But it's not a video game,
Yeah.
It is a really
What were you gonna say, Mario?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say there was a game that's kind of like movies, like the James Bond GoldenEye 007. Was that good?
No,
GoldenEye 007?
Yeah,
which one?
that
The remake?
part of the movie?
Well, actually, GoldenEye 007 the GoldenEye movie actually came out before the game. The game is based on the movie.
Oh,
the movie is not based on the game.
Well, that's a movie game that's really good.
Yeah, the movie is good, but James Bond films tend to be relatively good in the beginning of a new actor's run. GoldenEye was Pierce Brosnan's first movie, so yeah, it was pretty good. You know? The only Bond actor who's like almost all the movies he's in are really good is Timothy Dalton. Like License to Kill and Living Daylights are really good James Bond films. Of course, Timothy Dalton is a pretty good Bond. He's one of the darker Bonds in the. So, anyone want to bring up anything else before we wrap things up? Any topics they think that need to be?
Yeah. What do you guys think of the NX reveal being on January 12th? Did you say anything about that yet?
No,
I talk about it, but since you brought it up, who wants? You wanna tap into it first, Kanoosh?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't really care. Like, they're gonna talk about it when they feel ready to talk about it. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not gonna sit here and act like I need to make decisions for a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, I mean, like here's what people need to understand. Okay, like people are like, well, what if the NX doesn't take off? Then it fails and Nintendo tries again. Because like, here's the thing: Nintendo has so much money, and they still have the 3DS. And I know people are like, man, the 3DS is flagging. 3DS is at 60 million. Okay, plus at this point. Literally, like, and it has no competition whatsoever. So it's kind of like what Iwata said before he passed on. Now is the time that we can reap what we've sown with the 3DS. Like the 3DS install base is big enough that Nintendo could drop any first party or second party game, and they're gonna make bank off of it as long as it's budgeted correctly. It's guaranteed to sell at least 1 million. Now they're dropping Pokemon in a few days, like in a week, I believe. Pokemon Sun and Moon, and that's gonna sell gangbusters. I mean, we all know that game is going to sell gangbusters. So that's money going to Nintendo and Pokemon companies' wallet. So the NX, like I'm cautiously optimistic with the NX. I'm glad people haven't started to throw shade on it like they did with the Wii U. But I will say this much: the people were like, "Man, it's going to have third-party support." Slow your roll. Let's, take a deep breath. That's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
And how many times have we gone down this road? Third parties are on board. Okay. If this device is like the Wii, which is what I mean, Kimishima said, "Oh man, our next hardware device is going to be better than the Wii." It isn't, and if it is like the Wii, you're going to see a lot of shovelware on it. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And to tell you the truth, I don't want to see a console with a lot of shovelware. That's just me. I want good games. To take advantage of the hardware and the unique abilities of the hardware.
Nintendo's gonna make games for it. The games are gonna be pretty good, and that's all I need to know on January 12th. What's Nintendo making for the games? As third party shows up, They don't.
Yeah, and if all they're gonna show is a whole bunch of ports from Wii U, like better ports, I'm not buying this if it's just a whole bunch of ports. I'm sorry. Like I'm gonna need some. I will get it for that Mario game though. That Mario game looks pretty bad.
If it is a bunch of ports, I'll be rushing out to get this thing.
I'll get it, but I'm not getting it day one with a whole bunch of ports. Like I might get it later on in the year because they'll probably have a Black Friday sale or some shit. Sorry, they'll have a Black Friday sale of some nature, which will be awesome because Black Friday is like the best time to buy bundles, or actually Cyber Monday is, but whatever. Any other topics anyone wants to bring up before we wrap things up?
Oh yes, there's two things I want to mention. The difference between the NX and the Wii stuff was that the NX is more of a traditional console, so people won't just use the gimmick badly because there is no gimmick where you have to do motion controls or stuff.
Yeah, see, the word gimmick isn't necessarily a bad word. I don't know where.
I know.
And also every console has a gimmick. The Switch has a gimmick. The Switch's gimmick is that you can friggin' those Joy-Con things are like basically wireless Wii moves. Okay, they're basically wireless Wii moves. They have a sensor that you can use to point things with. They can do motion control. They're basically wireless Wii moves. So that itself, that's motion control. That's a gimmick. I'm guessing the gamepad is probably going to have motion control, so you can use it to do stuff with. It's gonna apparently have a touch screen. That's a gimmick. Like, it's all like. Here's the thing. There's no like the way this industry is set up. Like there was a time when Nintendo was basically the king of the mountain, and third parties don't want to see the industry where Nintendo is the king of the mountain. So it doesn't matter if Nintendo has the highest selling console. Like the Wii was a fairly powerful console. If you put your mind to it, if you were a developer or publisher, you could probably make some really good games for the system that would sell relatively well and still capture the public, the minds of the public. Instead, what we got from third parties on the Wii was a lot of shovelware and occasionally a gem. Like for every Boom Blocks or Boom Blocks 2 or Zack and Wiki, you would have some shovelware, like bad PS2 ports, you know.
Ninja Bread Man,
and Staff of Anubis, and Monkey King's Shadow. You know, like it was like
some stupid stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, and that wasn't. I mean, it wasn't because Nintendo's console is too gimmicky. It was that third parties were like, you know, this is a console. Yeah, it's selling a lot, but why should we spend money on this? when we can put out shovelware, which by virtue of this having a huge install base, enough people will buy it that we'll make millions. We take those millions and put them on our flagship titles on the PS3 and the Xbox 360 that get us critical acclaim. And you know, I mean, they use the Wii as a dumping ground for bad games that sold, but they were not good. You know.
Yeah.
Which is not good because there were some really good games on the Wii, like Mushroom Wars, and Zack and Wiki, and like I said, Boom Blocks, and Red Steel 2. You know, there were good games on the system, but for every good third-party game, there was like 10 shovelware titles. And that wasn't because of the gimmicks, because, I mean, there were some good third-party games that used the Wiimote very well. It boils down to companies wanting to do the least amount of work for the maximum amount of profit. And hopefully, knock on wood, we won't see that coming up with the Switch. They didn't do it with the Wii U because the Wii U didn't sell well enough for them to do that. They couldn't use it as a dumping ground. Hopefully, they won't use the Switch as a dumping ground. But if it takes off like the Wii did, they're going to do it. Because basically, once you have a big enough install base, people start putting shovelware on the system. That's just you're going to see shovelware. For example, the PS4 has tons of shovelware because it has a large install base. The 360 has tons of shovelware because it has a large install base. The Wii U has actually gotten quite a bit of shovelware. They aren't AAA level shovelware. They're like single A or B or D shovelware, but still, they're shovelware.
Yeah. So another thing I want to bring up was in the new Mario game, I want there to be 2 overworlds.
2 overworlds.
There probably will be. There'll probably be 3. There'll probably be like the main overworld, and then a second one for like when you're closer to the end that's with like harder enemies. And then there'll probably be like a super secret, Royal Crown level, those troll levels that Nintendo's team makes that are ultra hard.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking more that like there should be 3 overworlds, which should be the castle, the city in the Mushroom Kingdom, and Bowser's Castle.
Could be. I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, here's the thing. I try not to tell Nintendo what to do with their Mario games because, I mean, like, who am I to tell them how to make their games? Because, I mean, like, every time I've tried, like, everything that I really want from Nintendo, they tend to do without me telling them. Like, in the next Legend of Zelda, before I found out about Breath of the Wild, I said it would be cool if they had a Legend of Zelda where Link, all that stuff that Link collects actually had a use. Like, you collect apples and bugs and stuff and mushrooms and stuff, and you could cook it and do something with it. Because Link collects all this stuff, and you never see him eat anything. Like, it's weird. He can drink potions, but he can't eat anything. And now they have a game where you can cook stuff and eat it. That's cool. They have another title. They have weapons they have different types of weapons where all of them have uses. It's not just, well, I'll stick with the sword. Like, if you find a hammer, you can use that. If you find an axe, you can use that. It's like they were listening to me, but they weren't. This was just the logical step for where you could go from a Zelda game. So I like that.
Yeah, I think that's it for me. I don't have anything more to talk about.
All right. So, anything you guys want to plug before we wrap things up? Your channel?
Not really.
Video? Okay. So, yeah, I've gotten back to making videos again. Gotten a little bit of rusty. Bear with me. I had to re-record a lot of stuff, and I had to delete some stuff because my PC, I had to basically change my OS on my main PC because Windows decided I finally got tired of Windows 10, so I went back to 8. So essentially I lost a lot of stuff because it didn't transfer over because Microsoft is evil. So it's going to be a while until I start uploading stuff that's of my usual quality. So forgive me, my latest video, my spoiler-tastic review of Doctor Strange, isn't quite up to the quality of my normal videos with music and stuff like that. So I had to do it on my laptop when I had just some free time to put some assets together. So forgive me. So with that, I bid you guys adieu. Good night.
Good night. Good night.